Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK and Motorsports Podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Whether we are out riding with our friends and family or racing in extreme environments, we all need good tires. That's why I recommend GBC Power Sports Tires, a division of Greenball Corp. Their products, which include XC Master, Mini Master, and Groundbuster 3, are what leading professionals in the ATV-UTV industry are using. You can get your tires at greenballtires.com or find them on Instagram as GBC Tires for further inquiries. Are you looking for the best suspension technology for your sport ATV? Look no further than Elka Suspension, the industry leader in sport ATV suspension technology. With championship wins in prestigious events such as the Dakar Rally, Score, Best in the Desert, ATV MX, Cross Country, and Works, Elka Suspension has established itself as the go-to choice for athletes and enthusiasts alike. But they don't just stop at ATVs. They're constantly expanding into new markets, including UTVs, trucks, SUVs, pit bikes, snowmobiles, and more. Their commitment to innovation and quality means they're always looking to improve and adapt so you can enjoy a smooth ride wherever you go. Want to learn more about what Elka Suspension can do for you? Visit their website at elkasuspension.com or give them a call at 450-655-4855. They will always be happy to answer your questions and help you find the perfect suspension solution for your needs. Julian Hoefert, how are you, buddy?
Life's treating me very well. And yourself?
I'm doing great, man. I get to talk to you. We get to talk about three-wheelers. What else could be so good? I mean, how else much better could life get?
I don't think if I was any better, I'd be two people.
Well, I'm just, counting my blessings and trying not to think of any of the negatives.
It don't do you no good anyways.
Right on, right on. Hey, you got to go and play in Mexico with our friend Wrangell. Let's talk a little bit about how much fun did you guys have down there?
Oh, we had a blast. It was a great time. I mean, from hanging out on the beach afterwards to riding a machine like nothing else I've ever ridden before to the high intensity of the pits, which is one of my favorites, to you know getting to spend time with my buddy. Overall, it was a total blast. I was very lucky for the opportunity.
That's awesome. And you said that your girlfriend got her first taste of Mexico as well.
That's correct. She hadn't been down there before, so it was cool to be able to show her, some of the nicer sides of Mexico, some of the more beautiful scenic sides, and then, everything in between. It was a very cool experience for the both of us.
That's awesome. I love going down on that peninsula, and as you go down, you can see the water in the Gulf and the water in the out in the Pacific, and it's just awesome. Beautiful stuff,
Absolutely.
man. And to boot, you got to ride that Yamaha of Wrangel's. Um, I know when we did the story in Arizona, I don't know what or how much time you got to spend on it there. Um, but you did get to ride quite a bit down in Baja. What was your first take on riding that 450 Yamaha?
So yeah, you're right. I when we met and did the thing in Arizona, I got to ride it about 2 miles, and it wasn't obviously not enough time for me to be comfortable on it, but I had an idea of what I was getting myself into. And it does ride a lot different than your traditional vintage three wheeler. It rides more like a dirt bike with a 50-inch rear end, but it has power like I've never had before. My 250R in sixth gear, cruising along is like that thing in fourth gear cruising along, and it's got a whole nother gear to go, I think. I touched fifth gear once on a big flat straightaway, and it was faster than I wanted to go. I was probably doing 80 miles an hour, and I thought, I'm good. I'm tapped out. I don't need to go any faster. The bike by far was way faster than me. So that it was very cool being able to experience it and be able to, basically ride one for 3 days, 4 days, and not have to flip the bill for it. But I say that now, but I actually just bought a motor tonight for one, and me and Wrangell he's helping me build one right now. So I'll have my own and be able to get a little more seat time on it. But it is a different animal than your vintage stuff. A lot more powerful, and a lot more suspension. In some ways, it's more forgiving. You come up on something that you think you'd need to check up for and slow down for, and you can hit it at speed and you're fine. But I noticed the sliding around and stuff, going from a vintage bike where you got to hang it all out to get it to turn. This, you can be a little more, for lack of a better term, lazy. You can almost treat it like a quad, and just, you got to still lean, but you don't have to, totally remove your butt from the seat and put it on the tire. So there was a big learning curve going from riding it 2 miles to, going to ride it a section of 1,300 miles. But overall, I did good. I started off a little slow and got comfortable with the bike, and then was able to pick up the pace, and still couldn't ride at the bike's full potential, but I was riding at my potential.
How did you adapt to the navigation?
So I've done the navigation in the past 2 years with the Lyle Tonelli team. And that I actually, this was probably my best year for navigation. I went a little bit slower and paid a lot of attention to the burned in tracks, and paid a lot of attention at where, sharp turns were, or things that would take you off the path. I studied the different meanings of the different logos and the different signals that they're going to give you on the road book. And I was actually able to do my best as far as navigating. I wouldn't call it lost, but off the path a few times, but got right back on. And in years past, I've gotten severely lost, and I was very grateful to not have those moments this year.
Nice, nice. Um, did you see anything down in Mexico that really caught your eye, or where you had just an extremely cool experience? Are you ready for your next vacation adventure? Step into the heart of Arizona's natural splendor with a tour of Antelope Slot Canyon. Ideal for photography enthusiasts and nature lovers, our tours offer a unique journey through a landscape sculpted over millions of years. Let our expert guides lead you through the swirling sandstone. We're going to have to do it. Let our expert guides lead you through the swirling sandstone formations, where every turn reveals stunning light displays, geological marvels. Secure your spot now at Antelope Slot Canyon Tours, and prepare to be awed by the canyon's mystical beauty. For details, please visit us at antelopeslotcanyon.com.
Um, it's hard to say. I know there was a lot of cool things that I saw down there, and it's hard to put it all together. But one of the cool things was on day 4, waking up, me and my girlfriend stayed in a tent, and Wrangell and his wife stayed in the chase truck. And when we woke up, it was in San Ignacio, and there's palm trees everywhere. And we woke up to palm trees above us, a nice breeze coming through. And, it was one of the days we didn't have to wake up at, 4 in the morning to get ready to go. So that was probably one of the most relaxing, resonating moments with me. Also coming back, on our way back, we stopped in San Felipe and spent a few days there, staying at my Uncle Skeeter's house in San Felipe. And we went down to the beach and down to the boardwalk and got to walk around and be a tourist for a day and a half. So that was something that really was a nice thing to have before you went back to the States and went back to the grind of work and daily life.
I like San Felipe. It's a nice place. Yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot since I was going down there when I was, 18 years old. Yes, I know I'm old. You don't have to rub it in. But yeah, it's a great place. Anybody that wants to go down and have a great time, hey, just embrace the culture, everybody. It's different, but it's amazing at the same time.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience.
I don't want to get off the talking about the Norra race too much, but after we left the uh, Arizona story, what did you have on your docket? Because it's been quite a while. Did you have any races or anything go on in between that time?
So at the time, me and Wrangell had ideas that we were going to do this. And shortly after that, we nailed down, okay, 100% we're in, we're committed, we're going to do it, we're going to sign up and start saving money, start, you know, putting time in the right places and whatnot. So we kind of had an idea of what that was. That was the next big race. I haven't been as great at it lately, just, how life and everything takes over, but try to go to local races, Cal VMX flat track. And I'd like to start making more AZOP races, but uh, that was the big ticket item, was doing the Norra this year.
So just prepping for the Norra almost all year.
Uh, I can't believe it's been that long, but yeah, time went by real quick.
You know, Wrangell said it's the greatest race that you could race. What's your opinion on that?
I would agree. I think it's an awesome experience. It I can see how you you could either have fun if you wanted to go down there and drive your razor in the safari class, or you wanted to go down with your race truck and race, or your race side by side and race, or you wanted to go on your dirt bike or your three wheeler or your quad. One thing I like about it is it has a little bit for everybody, and sometimes it's a little wearing on you racing 6 days in a row, but it's also nice because you don't just go blast through every area. You stop and check things out and see each town at the end of every day. So it is a really good race. It is a really good experience. I would recommend it to anyone to at least do once, but it does get stressful having to know where you're going to be, know where you need to be, know where, you know, navigating the chase truck, locating hotels for, 2 weeks. It is a lot that goes into it, but I think it's definitely worth it. It's definitely went a lot more into it than like my Vegas to Reno trip. Granted, for Vegas to Reno, I built the bike. And I everything was on me because it was an Ironman deal. Whereas this, it took two of us 3 times as much effort to get where we were with that. And it's definitely a great experience, but definitely trying uh, and a lot of prep and a lot of work to get there.
How hard was it being that you're in Yuma and he's in Reno?
Towards the end, all I really could do is be a cheerleader for him, call him up, check on him. Hey, what do you need me to do? I can do, what I can here, and bring it once we're all there. But at one point, a few months before the race, I flew up there and helped him with the bike and the chase truck, and got things, just donated some of my time to see what we can get done. We got a lot done. It was not only very productive weekend, but a very fun weekend. Just whether we were grinding on the chase truck or working on the bike or organizing things to get ready, I had a good time hanging out with Wrangell. You know, it was probably the hardest I've worked in a long time, but it was the most fun I had in a long time too.
That's awesome that you could work that hard and have that much fun and still, want to go do it again.
Yeah, and me and him get along very well. We probably would have gotten more done if we weren't, goofing off half the time. But overall, we were putting in probably 14-hour days just working on the truck and working on the bike and talking ideas for the race and ideas for the bike.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And did you in the navigation that we talked about, did you have to go to a class for that or did you just learn it on your own?
The first time, the if you're going to do it for the first time, you do have to take a navigation class that's put on by Jimmy Lewis. But once you've done it, you don't have to retake it every year. We had writers meetings, multiple writers meetings beforehand, and they went over a lot of the more trickier sections or commonly asked questions and stuff like that. So that part of the navigation, um, that was somewhat familiar. One thing that Jimmy Lewis said during one of his meetings that kind of resonated with me is you're going to be faster riding at 60 to 80% and hitting all your turns and making sure you're in the right place at the right time than you are riding at 100% and blowing by turns. And I learned that with riding conservatively and crashing. You're way faster riding at 60 to 80% and not blowing any corners or not wadding it up than you are riding at 100% and blowing a corner, flipping the bike over. Best case scenario, you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, flip the bike over, and keep going. You still lost time. So I think that was one of my big helps was I wasn't trying to ride Wrangell's bike at 150% and blow the whole race because I wanted to be Superman. And as well, I wanted to make sure I was going the right place because getting lost in Mexico is no fun. I've done it plenty of times.
I think we all have a little bit. Um, when you're out prepping for that race, or you're out down there with him, um, what was your race day like? I mean, you said you had to get up early a couple mornings. Were you always starting super early in the morning?
So motos leave at 6 a.m. The first moto leaves at 6 a.m. and then normally uh, we start around 6:30 because I believe they're a minute apart each bike. I think maybe the big guys, the first couple pros are 2 minutes apart. I'm not 100%, but uh, some nights, the first night, we were up all night. Me and Wrangell didn't step foot in the hotel. We were working on the bike and finishing things up and, you know, just making sure everything was at 150%. And all of a sudden it's time to get up and go. So we got up and went. And the next night we got some sleep, but we got up early. And I would say, I think 3 a.m. and started tinkering with the bike, putting final touches on it, going over everything. And then next night up at 4, I think 4:30 we got up and went out, got the bike taken to the starting line, everybody got dressed. And, that's one of the hard parts of this race is, getting up at 6 a.m. or getting up at 4 a.m. every day and not going to bed till whenever you go to bed. Sometimes it's 10 o'clock, sometimes it's 2 o'clock. And 1 or 2 days, okay, I can handle that. But when it turns into 6 days, plus you're racing 100+ miles a day, it really starts to wear on you.
You think having a designated pit crew that just worked on the bike for you would make things much easier?
100%. I was actually talking with Wrangell about that today, and it's funny because we both had the same thought. He was thinking, well, what if I Ironman it next year? And I said, well, I was thinking the same thing, me Ironmanning it. And uh, I said, one of the things I would like to do is have a designated mechanic with us to where when the race is over, I talk with them and I get ready for bed and relax and go to sleep. And they fix what needs to be fixed and maintain the bike and look it over and make sure all the make sure everything's ready to go.
Right.
I've always done it where I'm, a rider and the wrench, and that can wear on you after 6 days.
Totally get it. Totally get it. That's why most of the motorcycle teams, the UTV teams, the truck teams, all have extra people there to do those things, so the drivers can get some rest.
And that makes the most sense to me. I can totally see why they do that.
I've been fortunate enough to go to 3 Dakars, and not only is it a feat between man and machine, but that those poor guys in your pit crew, I know, because I was the one, that worked all night and got in the chase truck or the pickup, the vehicle that took us to the next bivouac, and slept in the pickup, or then in the man truck, because I didn't sleep all night the night before.
Yeah, it's there was times where both me and Wrangell were nodding out between pits and catching sleep anytime we could.
I totally see that. I totally see that. Almost would have been better that you're starting, you go to bed, I'll finish the bike, you know, something like that, you
We,
know.
we had a few of those.
Right. I totally get it. Totally get it. I mean, it sounds like it was rough but fun. I mean, I love that kind of stuff. Harder it is, the more fun it is, because it's testing your ability to overcome your own weaknesses, as well as the environment that you're riding in.
Well, that's one thing a good friend of mine said, that he's an old time desert racer, and he said with desert racing, what you learn is if you can get through this, you can get through anything else in life. If you can Ironman Vegas to Reno, everything else in life will be easy.
Well, I talked to Rafael Sonic, who is a Dakar champion, and one of the days we were in Chile, and we were in the famous mining area out there, and he was on the machine for 12 hours. And I asked him, I says, man, what were you thinking, and how did you even mentally deal with that? And he goes, well, if you just think about it this way, that 12 hours is just one grain of sand in my life.
That's true.
It's just a blip. The pain that you feel, the blister, whatever, it's all going to go away. It is, embrace it for what it is at the moment, and keep going, because you're you're going to look back on it, and it's going to be such a positive memory. You're not going to remember the blister. You're not going to remember the negative. You're going to remember that you did it.
Well, it's funny because some of the, I would call it hard times or worst times, make the best memories. And an example of that was Wrangell had built a big box truck on a quad cab Dodge dually frame with a Cummins in it, and there's an awesome chase truck. And he had a 14-foot box on the back, like a U-Haul box. And at one point, the way the starts work in a lot of, not every one of them, but in some of them, you go through the start for photos and whatnot, and then you load up your bike. And unless you're a pro, you can drive it to the next transit. So if you have or to the next special stage. So if you have 100-mile transit, which 2 or 3 of them were 100 miles on the highway, instead of riding your bike down the highway where you're wearing out your bike, you're wearing out your tires, you got you know semis coming head on the wrong side of the road, anything can happen. You can load it up and drive it. So that's what we did. And me and him were in the back of this box truck, and his wife, my girlfriend, were driving and navigating. And we had to wire a radiator fan, um, and load the road book. And I think we changed a main jet while we're driving, 70 miles an hour down the road from San Felipe, south of San Felipe, going through dips, going through, um, windy roads. And at one point, we had to take the fuel tank off, and then the whole box smelled like fuel. And I'm starting to get motion sickness, and we have no way to communicate with the drivers that, hey, we need to pull over and get some air or something. And at one point, I start climbing to the front to start banging on the front of the box to try and get their attention. And we hit a dip at the same time, and I go flying and bang my head on the roof of the box, and I'm about to throw up, and I'm dizzy, and I was completely miserable. But that is one of the coolest memories I will have, and I wouldn't trade that memory for anything.
I'd have quit. I couldn't have done it, man, because I get so sick. I'd have had to lay down right there in the gas or whatever, and close my eyes because I couldn't have rode back there and worked on it at the same time.
Oh, it was one of those. It wasn't fun, but that was the only choice we had.
And you got it all done,
Yep.
man. That's freaking brutal, brutal. But yeah, I can see that it would be a lot of fun and a great memory to talk about. You know, um, so are you seriously setting yourself up to Ironman it next year?
Well, I'm thinking either that, or I heard and I've seen that Legacy has teamed up with Vora to do a 1,000 next year in 2025. And I believe it's in June of 25, which I'm not, I wanted some clarification, and maybe you'll know. I heard Best in the Desert is doing a Nevada 1,000, and Legacy is doing a 1,000 as well. I don't remember the name of it, but I don't know if they're one and the same or two completely separate events. But I want to do the Legacy 1,000,
They're two
maybe
completely
in
separate.
exchange of the Norra 1,000.
They're
But
two. They're two completely separate events.
okay, I need to build myself up more. I get in better shape. I lost 30 pounds before Norra, and I that made a huge difference in my riding, and I want to continue that change of lifestyle to build myself up to where I can do 1,000 miles on a bike. And I was toasted at the end of Vegas to Reno, and I couldn't imagine turning around and riding back. But I'm hoping to build myself up and build up my endurance and my mental strength to be able to pull it off. But I think it would be really cool to Ironman the first, Nevada 1,000, or Legacy 1,000 in the States.
So you Ironman that and have Wrangell be your mechanic, and he's going to Ironman Nora, and you're going to be his mechanic.
I'd love that. That would be rad. Good thinking.
Well, hey, I mean, you each get your desire, you know. And Wrangell, I think, would probably be a pretty good coach, talking you through each day, in the thousand or even the whole event, because I think it's one day. I not think they're breaking them up. I believe they're going to be a 1 day thing.
I'd hope so, because I can tell you from last time with Vegas Reno, I couldn't race the next day. I would have better luck keep going than I would have stopped and rest and then try again the next day. I think the rest would do you in worse than just keep pushing through.
Um, 50-50 on that one.
Yeah,
I guess when you're in the mood or in the mode and you're in gear and you're going, yeah, let's just rock and roll. What's another 500 miles?
right?
You know?
Be over before you know it.
Yeah, what do you do the first 500 miles in 8, 9 hours?
That would be cooking along.
So, well, okay, let's say 10. You're going to do the second in a little slower because you're going to have to deal with dark, and that might be better because it's going to be cooler, if you're pacing yourself, because you're definitely not going to want to go race. You're not going to want to go race pace.
Oh yeah, not doing it alone. You'd have to pace yourself from the very start.
Right. Right. I mean, have your pits set up where you take your water breaks, take your food break, and then get back on and continue riding. Man, that's a feat, bro. I'm gonna be definitely looking for that, and I hope you keep me abreast of you doing that because I want to know the intricacies of what it takes for you to do that, and possibly get to talk to your pit crew and everybody so that I can get the lowdown on what it really took to get you across the finish line.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure if it becomes a reality, I'm sure you'll be hearing plenty about it.
Oh, that's great. It's same with Wrangell doing the thing, by himself. His claim to fame is, Iron Manning Vegas to Reno, and um, that's still a feat all on its own, especially on a 350X. I mean, they're nice bikes, but come on, they're nothing compared to that Yamaha,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the way I compare it is, if you'd rather drive a 69 Camaro or a 2010 Camaro, well, yeah, if you're going to go cruise around town and, go mall crawling, you want to be in that 69 Camaro. But if you had to drive from California to Arkansas, yeah, you want you know, the, the nice suspension, the air conditioning, the heated seats,
I want
yeah,
to drive my pickup,
yeah. Well,
because it's probably more comfortable than that Camaro.
yeah. But you see what I'm saying? Both
I
have
get
their
it. I get it.
purpose.
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I totally get it. The older cars are bitching for a lot of things. And there's some people that would relish the fact of getting in that older car and doing that. My back and legs would hurt so bad by the time we got a couple hundred miles in, it wouldn't be any fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Past
Now,
the first 100 mile or first couple thousand miles when you ran out of gas money.
right on. Right on. Hey, I'm not going to make it, guys. I ran out of money. Um, you talked in the beginning of the show about the old school OEM 250R machine versus the aftermarket YZ 450 that you rode. I'm sure you still love your 250R, but the plushness of that aftermarket machine has to be pretty incredible.
They're totally two different animals. And, you know, my plan is for my own races, to continue racing my 250R. That's where my heart is. That's where I think the vintage stuff is way cooler in their own way. And what I love about three wheelers is that they're old and that they're dangerous and that they've got almost a reputation to them, which the modern three wheelers, they still, carry that to some degree, but they're not as I don't like doing things the easy way. I like difficult. I like the odds against me. So, and 40-year-old bike kind of appeals to me. Now, having the opportunity to race that in Mexico, race the GTR 450 is amazing. That's something I would have never guessed that I had the opportunity to do. That was really cool, and I I did enjoy it. I'm actually in the process of building my own. Wrangell's helping me with that, so we're gonna have a second GTR in the program, and you know, I am looking forward to having both, but I still think my heart's going to be with the 250R.
And hard to go away from the traditional TR or ATC 250R, um, especially when you're a traditionalist, you know. But if I was thinking I was going to go race a race, the caliber that you're talking about, the plushness of that modern day three-wheeler ride and the power and the delivery that the motor gives you, man, it's unquestionably much more fun.
I don't know about fun, but it is definitely more plush, definitely more comfortable if you're going to be doing it for long distance. I may change my mind, but as of right now, I don't have the financial funds to build a desert bike on the caliper that Wrangell has built his. I've already dumped all that funds into my 250R four times over and have gotten that set up where I like it. It's hard for me mentally to restart and just build a whole nother bike where nothing's transferable. But, maybe if, in 2 years, start collecting parts slowly and building it up and put it together, ride it, figure out what breaks, fix it. But I I don't know. It's also another one that, for the exception of our trip in Arizona, it's hard for me because I got to ride that one for a 2 mile loop and then come back and get back on mine and ride it for a 2 mile loop. And that was back to back. That was a big realization of how different the bikes are. But riding his in Mexico for a week and then coming home and then 2 weeks later jumping on my bike, it's hard to have the same effect of how truly different they are. Um,
Really?
if I get mine together, when I get mine together and I can ride them back to back, go for a 50-mile ride on my 250R and then come back and get and do another 50 miles on that, I may change my mind. But it's more of a love affair with the vintage stuff than it is anything logical.
I I can't argue with it. I mean, I really can't, because there's so much there. There's so much history, and we've fallen in love with these machines because that's all there was for so long. And I get that part, but from purely riding standpoint, those modern day 450s are incredible.
Oh,
I think you
100%.
can hit things so much harder, and they're so much more stable, in my opinion. Just the little bit that I rode them, I could tell, cornering was a breeze on the 450 and a little bit of a struggle on the 250R, you
I
know.
can see that.
And I think that you can build in options with the modern day stuff that you don't have with the old school. You're limited on how well the suspension can work because of the limitations of the design and the build. You're never going to get that old school suspension to work as good as the new stuff. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, 100%. That they have many advantages and do ride better than your traditional vintage bike. Even one done up a lot, they're not gonna go over stuff as easily or hit the rough as you're not gonna be able to hit the rough as hard. But there's other aspects that I've seen, and maybe it takes more, back and forth between the two to notice. But I had, just because most of my experience is on a vintage, I felt that it was easier to like slide the bike around on a vintage, but it's also the weight of a 250R versus the weight of that 450 bike, which is fairly heavier. You probably got another 100 pounds on it, and just little things like that. And I think the 250Rs are a little bit lower, so that gives you lower center of gravity. But I've never had any issues with tipping or stability on Wrangell's bike. That thing was like on rails.
Right, right. Um, I can understand where you come across with some of that. I slightly have a different viewpoint of it, but you know what? I like them both. I'm not going to turn down. Well, I might turn down riding either, just because. But if we get to go do it again, I can't wait to spend a little bit more time because I didn't get to ride your machine, which was more desert, which was where we were. So I didn't get to feel the modifications that you have, versus the new school stuff. Getting to do that would be a big deal for me because we were in the desert and we were in a little bit more of a desert course environment that we laid out. Yeah, it was short, but you know, my old body can't take as much as yours.
Yeah, I understand, and you're welcome to ride my bike anytime you want. And I that's like you said, that's when I noticed the biggest difference, and the biggest difference that I noticed going from David Ham's machine and Wrangell's machine to mine was the overall length of the bike. Going from their bike, which those both of those guys are taller than me, so they have theirs set up for a taller guy, and my bike's set up for me. But I felt like I went, to a 185S when I got back on my bike. It took me a minute to get comfortable back into the seat.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I mean, and I got to ride a varied number of machines. One of them I don't even want to talk about because it was so horrible, but that's neither here nor there. I enjoyed them all. I thought the 350X was a lot of fun. Um,
It's hard to
it
go
just,
wrong with the 350X.
oh man, it was a lot of it. Brought, I'm laughing when I'm riding it because I was having a good time. I was really trying to focus when I rode the two modern day 450s, just on, feeling the suspension, how the power accelerated. And those bikes are really similar, for being a Yamaha and a Honda. I couldn't believe how similar they really were.
The biggest difference I noticed between the two, and I think it's because maybe I'm wrong, but I believe Dave is a taller guy, maybe than Wrangell. But Dave's bike, I felt like a little kid wearing my dad's shoes. I just, felt like I barely filled out the bike. Wrangles, I felt was a little more close to a setup that I was comfortable with. Um,
You and I are about the same height, aren't we?
I'm 6 foot -1.
Okay, zip 6 foot -1. So you're a little taller than I am. I was actually pretty comfortable on both machines, just the way, I felt cramped on a 250R. From
That
them to 250R, I just felt cramped.
I felt the same way going back to mine. Like
Um,
first couple dips and first, half a mile, what's wrong with this thing? The bars roll back or something, but it was just going from the two totally opposite machines.
I noticed the pain in my knees when I rode the 250R versus the others that I didn't have it.
I can see that because you're sitting down lower, you're folding your knees more.
Right.
It's
I just didn't remember them being so cramped like that. Maybe it's just that because I rode the other bikes first and distorted my feeling. I should have rode the 250R first, but live and learn. I'll do that next time.
Well, I can see how you felt that way. I felt the same way. On my bike, I've moved my pegs about down about half an inch or an inch and a half and back about 2.5 inches to where they're right below and in line with the uh, swing arm pivot bolt. And I believe from what I've seen on dirt bikes and on quads, that's where it wants to be. Whereas on originally on three wheelers, they're way farther forward and further up. So
Right.
that has made a huge difference in the bike being comfortable for me.
Right.
And I've, yeah, not so compacted.
I totally see that. Do you have anything on the schedule as far as any races coming up here in the near future?
I'd like to do a few AZOP races. I think it's Cinders. I may be wrong, but I think it's a more of a woods style race, and I've always wanted to try that. So I got to look into that when that is. Um, right now, I kind of wanted to take a break on racing and get caught up with life. I've been so wrapped up in getting ready for Norra and stuff that everything else went to the side. So I'm trying to catch up on getting vehicles online, getting a different career path going, getting my house tuned in, and I think I'm gonna take a break from racing, at least the big races, and start focusing on long term preparation for one of the 1,000 races next year.
That's awesome. You also do some flat track stuff up at Campo, don't you?
Yes, that I would like to still do. They uh, they have that about once a month during the summer times. They just had their first round last weekend, but that's something I want to continue doing. I raced my Banshee up there. I raced my Tri Z up there. I've raced just about any other vehicle up there is to race. But it's a good time. Anybody in San Diego County or Yuma or Southern California, that's an awesome event to go check out. You can see that calvmx.com, check out their schedule and whatnot.
Have you thought about going to any of the bigger races up in like Bakersfield?
For flat track,
Yeah.
yes and no. I got real hot and heavy into the flat track like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was doing real good, and I was traveling a little bit, going up north and racing, and I did very well. And I kind of just got burnt on it. I don't know if I just lost the luster or got burnt, or to me, going to the Cal VMX routine is less about the racing and more about the social and the friends and the going to see the people that I've grown up the last, almost 10 years now going to go do. And less about the racing and the competitiveness. And I'd like to start trying to do something more technical, like to continue in the desert racing or do like in between desert motocross, like works and AZOP and whatnot. But the flat track, I kind of had my high with it, and just it doesn't do anything for me anymore.
Well, hey, that's one way to putting it across. I think works and AZOP would be fun for you as well as developing yourself for it's a great skill setter to go race desert with.
Oh, absolutely.
You go do some AZOP and some works, and then you go race desert because in those two series, everything you need to know about desert racing and the skills you need for it, you learn in that environment.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's one thing, like learning the flat track, that helps a lot when you're desert racing, because you come into a corner that you're going a little too hot for, you can go into it confidently that where you need to pitch it, how you need to slide, where your exit is, where you're, you know how to keep the bike on all three and not freak out and blow the corner or not know what you're doing. It helped a lot just in the cornering, which you don't think cornering is a big part of desert racing, but there's plenty of corners out there.
Yeah, and that's one of the things desert racers can't do. They walk through the turns and pin it wide open down the straightaways. And if you can drift through the turns fast and keep your momentum, you're just going to go that much faster down the next section you come to.
Yeah. And
But
like to start doing a little bit of D38. They don't do three wheelers, but start doing it on my dirt bike, and not to be competitive, but just to stay in shape, to get seat time, to get be out there and see the people that I go to the desert with and whatnot. So I'd like to start putting some attention towards that. Plus, it's fairly local. It's an hour and a half drive for me, so that's uh that's
yeah,
something quick and easy and fun.
definitely rough. Definitely.
Oh yeah, if you can haul butt through Plaster City and Ocotillo, and you can haul butt just through about anywhere.
Exactly. Well, a lot of the fast desert racers came from, District 38 back in the past, District 38, District 37. They always had competitions between, which group was faster when they would go to Baja or best in the desert. And I missed that competition with the desert stuff. It was a lot of fun. We met a lot of great people at the desert race.
Oh, absolutely. Some of the closest family I have is from the desert.
Right. ATVs. You want to meet good people? Go race an ATV somewhere. Right?
Yeah, that's definitely the truth.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Julian, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come and sit down and talk to me about Norra. I hope that we can stay in touch and see how these 1000s develop. Um, Pay attention to our social media because I've been in contact with one of the associations, and there's going to be some press releases, and I'm going to get a hold of them and release them on social medias as well as they are. So I don't have any inside news. I'm not telling you that because I don't. Um, I was told there's not enough information to answer my questions.
That's most of the case. That's it.
I
You
laughed
got
at the
more
part.
questions than they have answers.
Yeah, and I was laughing because Megan from Dirt Wheels or Best in the Desert was vague, but you know, giggling at the same time, trying to hold back the answer. So I think that there are thousands coming. I just don't know when or any of the particulars. I heard rumors about the Legacy Vora thing, but I don't know. I haven't got any concrete information on it either.
Right. I know what you mean. I would rather I'd like to see the Legacy Vora combination come together. From what I hear, they run a real good program, and they put on a good race. So I'd like to. I haven't raced a Legacy race yet or a Vora race, so I'd like to have that opportunity.
Wow, it's only going to take a little bit of dough and just get your 250R ready and go rock and roll.
Yeah, just money, right? That's why I get up in the morning.
Right. It's everything's just money. You know, we got a checkbook, we got money, right?
Something like that.
Well, that's how the government works. They got a checkbook, so they just go do it.
Well, then I need to start living like Uncle Sam.
Right on. I agree. Credit limit, what's that? Ah,
Yeah.
hey, brother, I want to thank you again. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with us. I always love talking three-wheelers with the three-wheeler guys. And if you have anything come up, let me know. If you got anything special going on with your R, if you get out to an AZOP or any of the races and get out there and have some fun, let me know. Let's talk about it.
The team here at ATV Talk would love your feedback. Please email it.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to share us with your family and friends. The podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you can find us on social media as ATV Talk Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter.